I want to ask you a question, and the first thing I want you to do is pause the video and answer me in the comments. When it comes to cryptocurrencies, what level do you think you have? Would you say you're above average or below average? Leave me your most honest answer in the comments of this video. There's a very famous psychology experiment where a group of people are asked what level they think they have at driving. And it just so happens that the vast majority of those people believe they drive above average. But there's a statistical error there. The vast majority can't drive above average because that wouldn't make any sense. In the same way, in cryptocurrencies, 90% of people lose money. Let's go straight to the screen, because in this video, we're going to talk about 5 pillars that I believe are fundamental to understanding what makes you good at cryptocurrencies, how someone becomes good at cryptocurrencies, and how someone can achieve good results in cryptocurrencies. My name is Johnny Cabeza. I have a degree in psychology, and I've been investing in cryptocurrencies for over 8 years. And yes, I also went through the phase where I thought I was good at investing in cryptocurrencies, when in reality, I had no idea what I was doing. At the beginning, in the first few weeks, I made 3 or 4 times my money practically in just a couple of weeks. And after that, I lost all the money. Let's go straight to the screen, and I recommend you stay until the end of the video, because believe me, this video will be much more useful to you than all those you see online, where they try to sell you a dream, where they try to make you believe you can change your life in a year by investing in cryptocurrencies without having a clue precisely, because those are the people who will sell before you. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's get started. And I'll tell you right now, but I don't want you to spend time on this just yet during the video. Are you enjoying it, finding it entertaining, or is it simply useful to you in some way? Please like and subscribe, because it really helps me a lot. So let's go straight to the screen. And the first point has to do with expectations over a period of time. What do I mean by expectation? Depending on when we get into cryptocurrencies, that time frame, we're going to have the false belief, and we'll talk a bit more about this later in the video. We're going to have the false belief about how many X's we can actually make in a crypto cycle. And from that, we'll develop an expectation. I take it for granted, and I'm pretty sure this is your case. Let me know in the comments if you used to invest in other things before cryptocurrencies. But the vast majority of people who start investing in crypto do so precisely because of their expectation. They do it specifically because they believe that by investing in one cycle, they're going to multiply their money by 5, 10, 15, or even 20 times. That expectation leads us to immediately start idealizing our life. We start thinking, okay, if I get a tenfold return, I could pay off this debt. All right, if I make 15 times my investment, not only could I pay off the debt, I could even go on vacation. Okay, but if I get 20 times my money, I could. No, the market doesn't care at all about your expectation. In fact, what the market wants is that the more expectations you have, the better. The more I hold with guts, the better. And that in the very, very long term might work for you, or at least historically it has been shown up to now that this can work with Bit. That doesn't mean it will work with the rest of the altcoin. Set expectations that match your level of knowledge and your level of experience. Don't think that just because you have high expectations, and because you're in cryptocurrencies, and because the alt season is coming, and because we're going to have a bull run, that means you'll be the chosen one who makes 15x and beats the entire crypto market in your first cycle. I hope you do, and I truly wish you the best, but normally that doesn't happen. If you want, I can also sell you the dream and tell you that you're going to make 20x in one cycle. 90% of people lose money in cryptocurrency. Why do you think that is? By the way, I want to remind you that you can take advantage of this amazing promotion where you'll get a 20% trading bonus by depositing up to $10,000. That means $2,000 in trading bonuses, and everything you make from there is money for you. If you make $1,000, that's 1,000, 2,000, 2,000, 3,000, 3,000, 5,000, 5,000, the amount you're able to make in 7 days. All you have to do is transfer $200 to your futures account to receive. After 3 days, you have to keep it there for 3 days, a $40 coupon. So with $1,000, you'd also have to transfer it for 3 days, and you'll receive 200, 160, 40. With 5,000, 800, 160, 40. And with 10,000, up to 10,000, 1,000, 800, 160, and 40. Besides that, remember, you also have to verify a phone number and an email. Although that doesn't link you as an individual, you're not giving your ID. This is an exchange without KYC. You can make both bank deposits and transfer money from another exchange. Believe me, there were only 100 spots. And now, after just a few days of the promotion, which lasts 30 days, there are only 40 spots left. So take advantage, guys, because honestly, this will probably end in just a few days or a week. Guys, I'll see you inside in a few weeks. Take care. As you can see here, in this first slide, related to expectations over time, indeed, in the previous cycle, anyone who entered Shiba Inu within a certain time frame could have made 54,737 times their investment. In Helium, 2,441 times. You can calculate this yourself on CoinMarketCap. In Phantom, 834 times. In Axie Infinity, 800 times. And this was true, but you also have to keep in mind that when you see these figures, you might think people just invested, held on to their money, and then sold. It's the usual thing people say, whoever invested in Bitcoin in 2010 would have so much more money right now. no one would hold on for that long. Very few people would hold on for that long. And it's quite likely that the only ones who did were, one, people who don't care about money at all, and two, those who are here not for the money, but because they truly believe in Bitcoin. Otherwise, they would have sold because it's so much money that who wouldn't sell along the way? And even more so considering that many of us, or the vast majority of people, have average salaries, are workers, are hard workers by nature. Someone who can multiply their wealth or their portfolio or their holdings by 5, by 10, how could they not take profit? Even if that alone might not change their life, it could at least make things better for them. Keep this very much in mind. The expectations we can have in a cryptocurrency cycle are a bit more modest. Something more modest could be that if you do things right and at the right moment, you analyze things correctly and make the right decision, the returns you could achieve. Then obviously there are exceptional cases. This is like a bell curve. On one side, we're going to have people who will lose absolutely all their money. On another part, we'll have people who will lose money, the vast majority. And on the opposite end of the bell curve, we'll have people who will make a lot of money. As you can see here, in the performance over the last 6 months on Hyperliquid, Formcoin, BitGet, TKX, Monero, and so on, these cryptocurrencies have had relatively good returns, very good, in fact, especially in the case of Hyperliquid. Also, keep in mind that when you set an expectation, you do it based on, imagine you have a portfolio of $10,000. What would have happened if you had put all $10,000 into Hyperliquid? It would be 40,000, it would be 50,000. But that would also be a bad way to analyze the crypto market because you'd be putting all your eggs in one basket, and that would also be wrong. Have a well-diversified portfolio and let Hyperliquid, for example, be 5 or 10% of your portfolio, considering that it's a high market cap cryptocurrency, a cryptocurrency with good fundamentals. But keep in mind that it's only 10% or 5%, because the probability of this cryptocurrency going wrong is higher than Ethereum going wrong or Bitcoin going wrong, and so on and so on. I'm using Hyperliquid as an example just to illustrate my point. I could pick any of the cryptocurrencies you see here, but it's so you understand what I mean. Let's move straight on to the second pillar, need. And I really think that the vast majority of people lose money in cryptocurrencies precisely because of this need, because they enter the crypto market first by forming certain expectations. And then after that, having a need, having debts, they're investing money that they actually need for their daily lives, or they're creating an idealization that's part of that need, partly because of the beliefs and expectations they formed beforehand. Don't invest money that would truly hurt you if you lost it, especially in the crypto market, because if things go well, they can go really well. But if things go badly, you could literally lose all your money. And I know a lot of people, especially from the communities, from people in the community who talk to me and say, Johnny, I've lost the savings of the last 10 years. Johnny, I've lost the savings of the last 5 years. Johnny, I've lost money that I really needed. Again, don't invest money that you're not willing to lose. If the money you have in crypto suddenly disappears completely, it shouldn't change your life. It should just annoy you, because losing money annoys everyone. But you shouldn't be here with money you need for your day-to-day life, or thinking that you might need that money to cover a debt, or being here out of necessity because you really need the money. Any investor worth their sultan, we're all part of this game. What benefits me is when people who are in need invest, but I don't want that to happen to my community. I want my community, at least you, those of you who watch me and are here together, not to invest out of necessity. Let others invest out of necessity. We will take advantage of those opportunities, but we cannot invest out of necessity. Let's move straight on to a false belief that many people have about cryptocurrencies. And I laugh so I don't cry, because I've had it too. The false belief is, if I get one right, it means I'm good at this, even if it's my first time investing or my first time investing in cryptocurrency. Let's go straight to the trading view chart, to the Bitcoin chart. And here we can see on the weekly chart a history that takes us all the way back to practically 2018, not the last cycle, but the one before that. And let's look at the following. If I had invested in cryptocurrencies at this point here, 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 and so on and so forth, I would immediately think that I'm such a good investor, and what's the next thing I'm gonna do? Since this one worked out well for me, I'm gonna repeat it and start buying here, start buying here, start buying here, and worst of all, with the profits I've already made, I start buying here, I start buying here, and I don't set anything aside for myself. I invest everything I've made from my gains, or I don't take any profits. So it's very important that you keep this in mind. Just because one trade goes well for you doesn't mean you're already a good investor. You have to keep at it, learning every day, not just from the things you do wrong, but also from the things you do right. If one goes well for you, first you need to discern. Did it go well because of luck? And be honest, you have to set your ego aside. You have to set your pride aside in this field. Did it go well for you because of luck, or because your knowledge led you to make a good decision? That's something you really need to keep in mind. And again, set your ego aside, set your pride aside, and be critical, because being critical is what will make you profitable in cryptocurrencies in the long run. In the long run, it could make you part of that 10% who make money with cryptocurrency. Every day, I can make good moves, bad moves, and I try to be honest with myself. Did this go well for me because of luck or because I understand what I'm doing? Did it go badly for me because of luck or because I messed up? Try to be honest. There will be times when things go wrong, even though our analysis was good. There will be times when things go well for us, and it was just luck. And that's just how it is. That's how it works. And it will always work that way, because investing in cryptocurrencies, and not just cryptocurrencies, but in any sector, is a game of imperfect information. It's like poker. You can set up a series of variables, determine what probability you have of beating the other person with the hand you hold, but you will never be able to know exactly with 100% certainty what the other person has. You will never be able to know what goes on in a BlackRock board meeting where they have millions and millions and millions and can do whatever they want with the crypto market. Again, let's get back to where we were. The false belief. If I get one right, it means I'm good. Let's change that phrase and start saying, if I get one right, I'm going to analyze why it went well for me. If I get one wrong, I'm going to analyze why it went wrong for me. Let's move straight on to the next point, the all or nothing mentality. This is the classic one I see all over the internet. All or nothing. Either I make a tenfold return or I lose my money. But why would I settle for a twofold return? Why would I settle for a threefold return? Why would I take profits? Why is it that when I see a lot of green candles, I keep thinking it's going to keep going up? Why does greed get the better of me? I also often hear people say, Johnny, I only invest with $100. Either I make 3,000 or I honestly don't care. That's a mistake. That's what makes you a bad investor. You shouldn't. Just because you're investing an amount you consider small, it doesn't mean it's either you make a lot or you don't care. It doesn't work that way, because when the time comes that you actually make a lot, you'll end up wanting even more. And precisely because you haven't done things right along the way, when the real moment comes, when you actually have real money and you can multiply it in a way that truly changes your life, you won't do it right because you didn't do it right during the process. Let's go straight to the weekly Ethereum chart. There are a lot of people who think like this. I get in here, and when this is up here, and Ethereum has done 2.5 times, let's say I invested $1,000 times 2.5. That means I would have $2,500. And now let's suppose, for example, that we're from Spain. $2,500 in Spain doesn't change your life. It's not that it doesn't change your life. I mean, it's nice. It's maybe 2 minimum wages or 2 standard salaries in Spain, but no, it doesn't really change anything. I mean, next month you're still going to have to keep going to work. You're going to have to pay taxes, because $1,500 out of this amount here you'll have to pay in taxes, and that's 19%. Unless you've managed to do it in such a way that, well, that's up to each person to handle as best they can. But the mindset people have is, why should I go for 2.5x if what I'm making is very little? So what happens? After that, this comes next. After that, this comes next. After that, this comes next. You didn't take profits here, you didn't take profits here, you got in here, and right now you have the cryptocurrency here and it's going up a little bit for you. And instead of having taken out 30%, 40%, 60%, 80%, etc., by making partial sales and having, which is super important and something that's often said, Johnny, but of course, since maybe you have more or less purchasing power, you can make more or less money, you can keep buying back. You can keep buying back. But I only have a monthly salary. When I put in 200, $300 a month, and that's it, once I've put in the money, I don't have any more liquidity. Exactly. That's why when crypto starts going up, make sure to take profits. Because if at some point it starts correcting and you haven't taken profits, you won't have any liquidity left and you won't be able to do the famous buy the dip. So for that very reason, don't stretch things too far. And when it's time to take profits, take profits. And don't let that lead to counterfactual thinking, which is very common in crypto. Like, sure, but if I sell now and then it does a 20x, I'd be missing out. You'd be missing out on a percentage, obviously. But with the other percentage, you'd still be in. If it keeps going up, you take another percent. If it keeps going up, you take another percent. But let's be responsible. Risk management. It's more worthwhile to make a 3x in 2 different cycles than to try to go for a 10x in just 1 cycle. I think we can all agree that we'd sign up to go from $10,000 to $90,000 in just 4 years. We don't have to make $90,000 in the very first year, because to do that, we'd have to nail the move and have it be practically perfect. And believe me, in cryptocurrencies, nerves, stress, and anxiety can really get to you. And I completely understand you, because it happens to me too. Even now, 8 years later, it still gets to me, even though I obviously try to control it. But knowing that a position can drop overnight while you have the trade open, whether it's in spot or leverage in perpetual futures, of course it affects you. We're in a wild sector that's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Let's start being responsible and not thinking with expectations, not holding on to that false belief that we're good at this. And let's try to take profits as the cryptocurrency goes up. And if it then pulls back and we believe there's still some cycle left before a bear market comes, we buy back little by little. That's another thing. We don't buy back all at once, we buy back gradually. By the way, with everything I've mentioned throughout the video, I also want to remind you that I have a membership where I keep an Excel sheet with all the cryptocurrencies that have been discussed in the community, along with the selling prices, which, by the way, some of them have already been reached. And just because of that, people already have liquidity, or at least I have liquidity. There is one option that is just the Telegram group, and another option that includes the Telegram group plus the 1 hour chat. I don't want to call it consulting because I don't give investment advice. And it also comes with basic, intermediate, and advanced courses. There are 3 spots left and 4 spots left. And once these are filled, that's it, at least for now. The price for this one is cheaper because if you join, this is monthly, but if you join, you'll notice that the courses also have a price. The chat, however, is free. Guys, if anyone wants to give it a try, you have the link in the description of this video. Let's go straight to the last one. Learning. I'm going to try investing in this. I guess it'll turn out well. Mistake. If you don't want to watch this video, or you don't want to watch my videos, or you don't want to watch other people's videos, then don't watch them, but try to make an effort to keep learning, to keep improving your knowledge, to be like the miner who at a certain point is close to the diamond and ends up finding it. Precisely because your effort is what has made it, so that through the mistakes you've made, through the lessons learned, the knowledge you've acquired, and your resilience, you've gotten back up once again and made your investments start to go well. And be aware that there will always be rough patches. There will always be bad moments. And we have to be prepared to lose money. That's part of losing money and making sure that your gains outweigh your losses in terms of percentage. It's not about always winning. It's about winning more in total than you lose. And regarding learning, what exactly do I mean? If you have to analyze a cryptocurrency, what do you do? Well, what most people do is they look at the fundamentals of the cryptocurrency, and then basically they go on Discord and see that people are hyping that cryptocurrency to the moon. They're FOMOing into it. And that's it. I invest in this because it has good fundamentals. Personally, before I invest in any cryptocurrency, any altcoin, whatever it may be, I do all of this and much more beforehand. I look at the state of global liquidity, the M2, and how it has been transitioning over the past few years. I pay attention to the interest rates in the United States and what could happen in the coming months, taking into account the current stance of the Fed, as well as the ongoing dispute between Jerome Powell and Trump. I also take into account the state of inflation in the United States, not just the annualized rate, but the true inflation, the one we are actually experiencing now, in order to start understanding what could happen in the coming months. I also consider how Bitcoin dominance affects things and how the flow of money from the most important cryptocurrency in the crypto sector to the rest of the altcoins impacts the market. I take into account on-chain analysis as well, whether it's on Arkham Intelligence, Solescan, Etherscan, BSCscan, and so on. I consider different on-chain indicators regarding how Bitcoin behaves, since that is what affects the rest of the cryptocurrencies. The higher the dominance, the more it will impact the rest of the cryptocurrency. I also take into account how Bitcoin ETFs are fluctuating, because if more money suddenly flows into Bitcoin ETFs, it will affect the crypto market, it will impact Total One, the total market capitalization of all cryptocurrencies, and therefore, if we have high dominance, it will also affect Total 2, Total 3, the oldest chart, and so on. How the liquidation map also affects things, the heat map we have for Bitcoin, to understand whether the price we can use this one or the one from trading different, which is even more professional to understand whether the price of Bitcoin is more likely to go up or down. In the end, the crypto market moves in impulses and pullbacks, and the crypto market is heavily manipulated by bots. What's going to happen next? Will we come to this point here, or will we correct this whole area here? What else do we have here? How does the liquidation map work in terms of the number of X as well? After all this, I'll start with the cryptocurrency, okay? I'll start with the tokenomics, with how the project gets diluted. Here we have an example, the case of Dimension, which I already mentioned last year that I wouldn't invest in this project, or that I'd be cautious with it in the long term, precisely because of how the project is going to be diluted. I want you to look at this image here. We are currently on May 19, 2024, and you can see that Dimension had a circulating supply of 146 million tokens, a price of $2.55, and a market cap of 332 million tokens. How is Dimension doing right now? Especially if the page actually loads, of course. I'm telling you right now, the price of Dimension is currently 90% lower than it was a year ago. Do you remember the circulating supply? We had almost 150 million last year. Currently, we have almost 300 million, with a market cap that's 4 times lower than what we had before. If our market cap is 4 times lower than what we had before, why has it dropped? Why hasn't it dropped by 75%? Well, it's precisely because of the token unlock. Keep that in mind, not just because you invest in a cryptocurrency and forget to sell or couldn't sell and have to hold it from one cycle to the next. It doesn't mean you'll be able to sell at the ATH in the next cycle. It doesn't work that way. Cryptocurrencies that have already lost attention because they're from a previous cycle and at the same time have had a massive amount of tokens unlocked are very unlikely to recover their price. SUI, Arbitrum, and so on are precisely the kinds of cryptocurrencies that looking ahead to the next cycle won't be the new thing anymore. And on top of that, a huge number of tokens will have been unlocked during the bear market. Be very careful with that. And guys, that's it for today's video. Let me know in the comments if you would add any other points to keep in mind after this last one, after what I mentioned to you about vesting. From there, we move on to the project's fundamentals. We look at the technical analysis of the project. We examine how the project's marketing is doing. We consider what could happen in terms of the roadmap over the coming months and how those fundamentals really stand out above the competition in that specific narrative and so on and so forth. Guys, thank you so much for your comments and your support. See you in the next video. Best regards until next time.